The Soon It Will Brighten podcast is here with Johan Melin, who is the author of this book that we're going to discuss today, Soon It Will Brighten. And I'm sitting here with Nikolina that will introduce herself a little bit to the listeners.
Hello everyone, good to be here today. I've done literature and foreign languages and as an academic background and a lot of philosophy and psychology as well. So we are continuing our endeavors to discuss Johan's book out in public and make people more aware about not just what is going on in the world, but also how some of us feel towards it.
All right, so I will give you a short introduction to Soon It Will Brighten. And for the occasion, I've written a little verse. So hear me out on this, right? While you sit there and watching your AI slop, listen to the real cherry pop. Instead of consuming goods in Temu and Lidl, hear me out on this story about good versus evil. Soon It Will Brighten, a country noir, the second part, starts with a dedication. To the one who has given up, now the real life can start. It will be many moments when it feels like the game is over. We are born and die many times during a lifetime before the inevitable end. Many people say that they could die for somebody else, for their country, or for something that they love. Only a few is ready to be able to live life by itself. To give up is an illusion or the first step to start to live. By the killer Tom Johansson's house out on the fields in Tashled, 3 more bodies were found. They belonged to an African paint salesman, a paperless Afghani boy that Tom had beaten to pieces, and a prostitute heroinist who had been disappeared since the 90s. These victims, these Les Miserables, these lost boys and girls were unknown to the society, and they had not been reported missing because they didn't have anybody who missed them. And therefore, they didn't get any media acknowledgement in Sweden. There was so much other things that the people were thinking of. Rising food prices, a feeling that upcoming Third World War, and global isolationism. The corpses belong to the same headlines that those young men who killed each other in the suburbs of Sweden. It was inexplicable violence that had come to good old Sweden, another war with their standoffs that was outside the ordinary Swedes' sphere. It was just a sigh. It was a shaking on the head and maybe mumbling about failed integration. But Frank Ekståhl's book, What You See, that placed you in the head of the serial killer Tom Johansson and how he tied it together with the girl Hanna Andersson's disappearance, her mother Felicia, and her stepfather Peter's death, and the unfortunate events that was happening on the center, the house center, called The Step. The story was also about the following standoff between the gangster king Jack Sayas and how the infamous rapper Ibra was shot to death on Tom's farm. But the book became a success. True crime was selling like butter, and everybody was disgusted and fascinated by Frank's book, his first page-turner. All he dreamed about became truth. He could finally support his family on his writing, and he got debutante prizes in spite of that he was a writing veteran. He decided to move home back to Herrljunga, this small town he had hated in his teens for 25 years, and for 25 years took over his parents' house and started his novel. The only one who didn't share was the local cop, Alva Holmqvist. After all this madness that happened with Hanna Andersson's disappearance, that led up to the moment when she shot Ibra in the belief that he was the gangster king Jack Sayed, everything had fallen apart for her. The internal affairs showed that she had acted correctly. But the truth was that she had murdered an innocent person, which made her question herself and her earlier stamp as a nice, understanding, woke cop, who now got support from all kinds of directions, especially in the force. Now she was called the Terminator and a hero, but herself, she had a bad taste in her mouth. During her work leave, she got some insomnia, and those few times she slept, she dreamt about how she killed the suburb's biggest wordsmith and marcher, Ibra. And also Hanna Andersson, the girl who disappeared and returned, finally again left for somewhere. And she was like a mother, sick of worrying if something could have happened to her. And above all this, it looked like the sect or the cult leader, Lars Witvelt, from the steppe, who was one of the few survivors after the massacre, would go free. This in spite of that the police had a heavily burden of proof or evidence against the steppe and all the sexual abuse that they had used young girls through the years. The prosecution against Yaksaya's gang was even harder because their yak was dead and the gang members was underage and the whole organization was dissolving when the police started to go into the rabbit hole in this chaotic network from the suburbs that was run by Jack. Peter Johansson, Hanna's stepfather, he was sentenced posthumously after he had been killed by Jack Sayas. Also, Hanna's mother was believed to become murdered by Jack when he was fleeing the battlefield with the money, who was the only reason that all this madness had begun. Money that Ibra had got through a big drug deal. A big part of black Afghan had been sold on Jack's territory. Then Hanna was stealing the money from Ibra, and Felicia, her mother, had convinced her to give the money back to Jack. But her pardon, the man who was beating her, she was living with, Peter, had taken the bag of money and convinced Lars Witvelt that they could cover the holes in the shadow economy of the sect with the money, which had led to Yaksayas and his kid soldiers went back to the farm to take their money. And this dirty sports bag was the reason that Alva had thought that it was Jack she shot out there on Tom's farm, when it in reality was the newly released Ibra. He ran with the bag in the darkness on his back, and still she saw his surprised eyes stare at her when he was laying on the hard earth and looking up at her. And then there was Ibra's cousin Mick, 14 years old, who had been found dead in the woods by the Biskopsgården, probably shot by Jack's boys. That murder was also unsolved and without a perpetrator. Alva was all tired of thinking of all these question marks. And Hanna Andersson, the girl who was connecting all these loose dots, she was disappeared again. Alva had her suspicions that she had taken money out of the bag, put on something for herself, and what could they do about it when she apparently wanted to disappear? She remained sought after. The tracks had been covered. Alva tried to do something about it and do her writing dreams justice, and she tried to write the story about those days of destiny in Herrljunga. First together with her old friend Frank Ekståhl. The problem was that Frank called his book True Crime. Because of his many years as a scriptwriter and a film director, he rather wanted to make things up where he couldn't go further. After 1 week together, they went separate parts. She wrote her true crime, he wrote his true crime, while she tried to write a book, a true book, about what actually had happened. She discovered that her police language and almost writing a file kind of book was not as alive as she had wished for. But it depicted what actually happened, how the suburbs and the small towns in Sweden have started to remind of each other. As Sweden had become a country full of fear and non-understanding, how the young had been forgotten by the society, and it was because it wasn't nothing to do for the young kids. No places or role models or functioning society anymore that made that they were able to be picked up by the networks, their phones and their social medias that was saying to them all the time to become something they were not, if it was influencer or a gangster. There was a game that was far beyond what we can see, Alva was writing. And it was an upside-down world where a different morale with no line of consequences is ruling. And what the grown-ups must do is start to care about the kids again instead of playing scared and all the time put the decline of times on the young people. All right. So that is like the introduction, the first 2 pages, 4 pages of the novel actually. Let's hear your reaction because it's the first time you know my previous work, but this is something else, right?
Well, I think you're getting gloomier and gloomier for each novel.
The times are also getting gloomier, to say. I'm so, with this novel, I must say also, I moved back to Sweden 4 years ago, and I started writing this new series or trilogy called the Country Noir Trilogy, because I live out in the countryside, and you know, I know these places. It's my small town where I come from. Nothing ever happens, but I was curious to see if I could use the most common genre from Sweden is the Scandi Noir, right? And then I was thinking, what if you take this, but you also have the aspect of telling what's going on right now? So while I was writing this particular second novel, we will come back to this later. I will also read you something about that because Gaza, the war in Gaza was on its worst, you know, the genocide going on as I was writing this. And in the book, want also to show kind of, I will tell you the plot shortly, right? Or not the plot, but let's say the setup or how we come into the story. So now you heard the introduction. What actually is, it's in a way a literary recap of what happened in the previous book. Yeah. What I read to you now, yeah, right? Okay. So then Alva, this policewoman, she's contacted, she's freed from this thing that has happened in the previous book where she shot this rapper accidentally. And she has written this account of Hanna Andersson. She's still gone. And then she's contacted by her boss. She's now an alcoholic also. We didn't get to that part, but she's been drinking. After kind of failing with nobody cared about this self-published book she made with the truth, she started drinking heavily, right? So literally, and she lives in Sweden. We have this Systembolaget, like a center where you pick up your alcohol. You can only buy it in one place. And her apartment is above this place, right? So she's basically she's miserable, and in the novel is described as she's in the diving bell. She feels like she's in this diving bell beneath the sea. She's just sitting and drinking and cannot get this tragedy together, right? Her boss is calling on her door and says that she's reinstated because they have found a body down by the river. And it's believed, it's chopped into little pieces, and it's believed because they found these girls, it's a 15-year-old girl, and they found her foot in this shopperoni. Everything else is just chopped into small pieces, but they found a piece of foot where the little toe is sewed on. And in this first novel, we learn that this gangster is cutting off her little toe, and they help her also. They sew it back in the first. So they immediately think it is this girl who has been missing, right? Hanna Andersson. All right. So what happens is Frank is now a successful writer, right? And he has been written a true crime about this massacre that happened in the previous one, and a story about her disappearance. But he feels guilty. He has sold the rights to Netflix, but he feels guilty that he's not telling her story, right? So they found this girl, and they start to find out if it was Hanna Andersson, right? And the tracks lead them to Amsterdam, that she has sent a postcard to this policewoman that she's coming back. So what they learn is that she must have been killed in Amsterdam with the body. After the autopsy, they find out this, right? So Frank goes to Amsterdam and he also feels plagued that he hasn't told her story, and now she's possibly dead and chopped to pieces, right? So he goes in her footsteps in Amsterdam. Meanwhile, now this is breaking news, this murder, right? Everywhere. In 10 minutes, this sect or this cult, manosphere cult, that is led by a guy called Lars Wittfeldt, he is immediately capitalizing on this. He's in jail, but he's going to get out for these atrocities he made, this child abuse he has made. He's out again, and he's hailed now as the alt-right's new manosphere, fucking Andrew Tate, But he's a fascist, definitely racist, and he's using immediately, he's broadcasting, making this podcast from the prison, and he's now coming out in lack of evidence because the girl is dead now, and she was the only one who could witness against him, So he's released. And he says that it's an immigrant. He puts actively the blame on an immigrant. So now all Sweden it's enough now. It's enough with these Muslims. We're going to do something. And he incites his followers. He has 500,000 followers. It is like it is now in Sweden. The second biggest party in Sweden is the fascist party. The second biggest party with roots in the neo-Nazi movement is the second biggest party. It has become mainstream to become a fascist in the Swedish society whose only explanation to the whole complexity of all the shit we see in the world right now is, this is true, what I'm telling you now. They're having now 20% of the votes, and now they're going to get into the government next term. All right. Anywho, this guy is saying they are doing this to us. There's a new criminal network in the suburbs called Blackmail Bros. And Blackmail Bros is the new type of gangster where they scam people online, and Blackmail Bros is having data on all these men who is doing sexual. This is more lucrative than selling drugs, right? So Blackmail Bros is run by some of the guys from Yak's old gang. But what these guys, and they are millionaires, what they found out, they have this sex live cam with their girls, with young girls and blah, blah, blah. And they film the powerful man who is doing this, who is watching this, and blackmailing them. And their philosophy is like, everybody has some kind of dirty secret online. We will find it and we will make it an asset. So in very short time, this Asif, who is the leader of Blackmail Bros, he has become like a kind of, he's an influencer type also, Yeah.
We have spoken before about the rise of AI,
Yes.
the lack of government control,
Yes.
the lack of
Yes.
legislation about
Yes.
it. But I think we've never before discussed the idea that AI can be totally misused and abused by gangs. I mean,
Are you crazy? And then the third, Nikolina, the third book. The third book, where I come full circle, those above, it's called When They Come Up Into the Power. In the third book, it's all about this also AI now also implicated to the public systems of Sweden, but also the gangs using it, everybody using it.
I mean, I'm trying to say that I could always see the misuse of AI by governments, I don't know, military institutions, politics people, makers, whatnot. I mean, it's like it kind of like it's understood. It goes by default, right? I don't know. The Israeli government is going to use AI in its warfare. Gaza, West Bank settlement attacks and whatnot. Of course, the Trump administration is going to use that, but I've never thought about the misuse of AI by gangs and actual street criminals, right?
Of course.
Who are tech savvy
I work with young criminals, teaching them music, right? But they are so. This is why they can't have any technology, because they're doing. It sounds like everybody wants to be a gangster. The truth is, most of them, they scam all the pensionists with AI. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, but the expert public is warning against state institutions and governments abusing AI, but nobody is actually talking to us about criminals from the street using AI and misusing it in the most horrible ways that are as bad as what the governments are doing right now. It's like, so the future, and I can understand where your bleak perception of the future comes from. The two bads are going to be bad equally. It's not like the government bad is going to be better than the criminal bad. All bads are going to be tremendously bad for all of us.
Yes.
And it's not scary. It's horrific. I don't know. It's beyond horrific.
And now listen here. This is later in the book. Then this sect leader Lars Wittfeldt, he is out and he's using this false placement of a killer on an immigrant to burn down the suburbs, right? And to take these blackmail bros that I was talking about, to find them, because we also found out that these blackmail bros, of course, have the only recording of all his abuse of young girls, and that he is out from now, right? All right. So it starts like this. The step had starting their extinction of the suburbs. They had walked in lines, just like they have practiced the last couple of months, to the suburb where Asaf's brother was living and where they have located the blackmail farm. To make it more exciting, they didn't know which one of the 200 condos that was housing the servers. They kicked in people's doors, armed with their hunting guns and their all-automatic rifles. They were they were crashing the interiors and the apartments for everybody who lived there. They trashed everything together, searching the drawers, and put on women's underclothing on their head. They took a selfie before they kicked the rest of the interior to pieces. Yeah. They were tearing off the niqab from the women who was carrying them, and they were yelling into every live camera that they were liberated. Crying children were put away, and those who made any resistance got a gun into their face, was threatened and beaten. They had a very good line producer who was cutting away all kinds of where they stepped over the law and things that could be seen as criminal. But the former reality producer, he was also cutting in very quickly Muslim angry man who was doing resistance and made it all seem like that Rabiat Arabs was starting a riot in the suburbs. Politicians was live commenting that Islamists was doing violent protests in the suburbs and that they should be shot. This is the result of all the immigration. The integration minister was writing and put an angry emoji and a Swedish flag and a muscle emoji and a amoeba emoji. What it meant, nobody knew anymore. When everybody is talking baby language, it's very hard to interpret anything. The language had died in Sweden or been hijacked by those who rather express themselves through feelings, like the boys from the steppe who didn't show any mercy to those living on Hisingen. The police didn't know what to do, and they were way too late. Even if Lars also got a permit and a sign from step members that they could do whatever they want, at least for a couple of hours, so that they could burn down the blackmail bros fucking server and get revenge for Gangsta's murder on the patriot in the movement. Media was also late because in spite of that most channels were live sending the steps crusade against the criminals of the suburbs, it was seen as that they did Sweden a favor. Even though they were beating up and stomping in the face of young men that even didn't have anything to do with gangsters, this was their let out under the parole, it's enough. Lars went first and his army threw out people from their homes and their belongings into the street, and he was very calm in front of the live camera. This needed to go quick before the police came, but in the kind of fever hate, before the fever hate was put out, or somebody who started to ask what the fuck is going on here, the narrative in Lars' very well-directed circus so far was that it's time that the Swedes take the battle against the fucking sand Negroes. Because it was needed that the fear kept burning. Nobody had the time to think. He was knocking on the door to an apartment, and when the 50-year-old woman who opened the door looked at Lars, he asked her, "Your son, where is he?" "What son?" Asaf's mother didn't know which of the three sons he was meaning. You're hiding a killer in here? But what are you talking about? It's here, right? The women tried to close the door. Lars put his foot in the door. He made a sign to his henchmen and media crew to come with them. He beated her over her nose so that her head was twisting. The live show was filled by comments of laughing, crying emojis, on fire emoji, slay emoji, thumbs up emoji. Wow, lol, kill the Islam bitch. The killer mother must die. Lars was storming into the apartment where Asaf's brother Mohammed was sitting and looking at the live show. The so-called server farm was a rack on the size of a refrigerator and two monitors and a gaming computer. From here, Blackmail Brothers was blackmailing all of Sweden and the world. We could call their corporation All Sweden Jerking Off Catched on Video. They used dumps and files what everyday man was really looking at. This was at least meat and potato and brown sauce income. Blackmail Brothers was started when Asaf, after the chaos of Yaksaya's death, said to his brother that they should be able to make better money and more to blackmail porno surfers than the constant cash flow of weed and cocaine. Everybody's hiding something online, their second life these days, or their first. This is how Blackmail Brothers' business idea was born, to press people who had something to hide on big sums of money. Lars was gonna take them down. So, you like murdering Swedish girls, huh? Part of him wanted to put a gun up his ass and shoot this fucking cockroach, pump him so much full with lead that the bullets were spewing out of his head like an ejaculation. But he said to himself, keep it. He was here to destroy all evidence and then deal with Mahmoud that would lead him to Asaf. Easy, steady. Lars was trashing the server bank. Eric came with lightning fluid. The live show was cut out on purpose. Lars lit a match. He threw it over those thousands of jerking off woman haters who was there inside that server, like ones and zeros. The flame came up. Then he did signs that the boys should pick up the crying bitch. He put a gun in the back of Mahmoud. He put on the live show again and said, we are now taking one of the killers from here that has been spreading horrors here in the suburbs. But he had apparently so much to hide that he was putting his own apartment on fire with his own mother inside. Who does such a thing, huh? The clock is ticking for Asaf. The black smoke was coming out of the apartment. Mahmoud's mother was screaming before one of the steps members put his hand over the bitch's mouth. The worst thinking has always been happening in front of our eyes. The Holocaust, both now and in Gaza and then in Auschwitz, is the paradox that any human, in whatever time, can be conscious about that murders are happening in the open on women, men, and children, and nobody does a thing. It's allowed. Most people are shutting themselves down or are in some form of denial to be struggling through their everyday. That's why the internet trolls are sensitive human beings. They wish to put a reality together that is according to their need of safety. And they are flocking around fears and other feelings where they act out their worst fantasies before they put their swastika pajamas on. They very thoroughly clean their teeth and go to bed. Mama comes to them and put out the light after they sleep. They are controlling their darkness. They regulate it with fluorescent lights from the computers, medicines, energy drinks, and happiness reactions to the most unthinkable. Humiliation they felt themselves all their life, and finally now came out over some tongue-rolling fucking Arab pigs.
Okay.
This is how they are feeling, right?
Yeah.
What you called everyday people was not even better. There was an underlying feeling that Sweden had gone to hell since the 80s. And while the truth was that the hypercapitalism was buying the human in the new time, it sold it an identity, and the society illusion was beaten together. And there was the everyday Swedish guy without a we, with a dissolved I, and totally meaningless in the global capitalism, age of global capitalism. And the only autonomous function to work as a slave to be able to buy more identity credit. And then came the immigrants and took a society that was dissolving under 6 or 7 wars. And with that, the gangs were imported. The VHS Scarface, and the Swedes didn't know what to do, spineless and in shock. And when we woke up in a society where all the Swedish had been privatized and it was all one by themselves, it was enough. Let us not mention the majority of the immigrants that was adjusting to their new country and took care of their Swedish people, cooked their food, drove their taxis, take care of their kids, sick and old, cleaning up after the sweets of their anxiety drunkenness, and that was going into the line of the silent majority. So when the steppes hatred exploded in the suburbs, many Swedes were cheering and thinking that finally this perverse idea that they could get rid of everybody who is not Swedish could be executed. That's why during the Holocaust, under the Second World War, and in Gaza, this can go on even though the perpetrator and the victim have changed places. That's why people are reacting instinctively on murder with happiness, because it's creating a safety. It's creating, oh, it wasn't me, and it's their own fault anyway. We have become animals of fear that needs more fear, not more safety.
Well, what pains me the most in today's world, I mean, yes, I can see where you draw your inspiration from. I can see where you put your personal thoughts and ideas into what is going on. I can see the allegory of everything happening. But what strikes me the most is that after so many years of rule and conquer and everything, like humanity hasn't learned a single lesson. I mean, come on. We are all for democratic societies and dialogue and peace instead of war and, I don't know, United Nations missions and so on and so forth. But it's like we still desire war, and with social media and mass media and AI abuse, every narrative they're like pleasing us, it goes towards let's not be like brothers and live in peace. It's like let's wage war against each other. I mean, what sort of stories are
Yeah.
coming out of Israel and the US and even Iran, because they're blocking off internet there, so we
And
know
you see
only
how,
one side of the story.
President Trump is using wording yesterday, open the fucking straight or hell will run down the fuck over you.
Well,
This
here's
is the first time in history the words of a president who is almost illiterate and demented, and this is what people are consuming as some kind of yet another today's madness,
Exactly,
right?
and he's a narcissistic psychopath. I mean,
And this
his
guy,
place is
obviously,
into an
this
institution working on rehabilitation. His place is not like dealing with the what's the word? I'm citing the best military of the world, the best government in the world, blah 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 blah. I mean, he should be in a mental institution. That's like obvious, more than obvious. But on the other hand, the lack of agility in Europe, the fact that he's not standing on the right side of history, the fact that he's always politicizing and doing diplomacy and taking things into gloves, as we say in Macedonia. I mean, no. I mean, what I'm trying to say, I'm expecting of the world leaders, European leaders included, to show integrity, show attitude, and like take a stance, and like these are the values we stand for. Like, you don't negotiate with Israel, a genocidal state.
Rule over international law. Nothing
I
is
mean-
there anymore. Even a right-wing leader like Carl Bildt, he used to be the Swedish prime minister, right? But he worked abroad also, and even him, a right-wing guy who I don't respect anything about for his political things, he said when this was going on in Gaza, and saying it goes against international court of law. And it's like this is now for everybody else than Israel and the United States, right? And they're doing it on a daily basis, killing their own, like George Pretty and Alex Pretty and Renee Good, right? So while I was, I want to talk a little bit like I wanted to tell you, because we when I said we're going to make this podcast again, and I told you a little bit about the book and so on, I must read you a little bit, because the heart of the novel is a girl, this girl who is found killed, right? Her best friend is called Lana, and she's one of these girls who are great in school, but she's also of the invisible ones. She's feeling like she's a ghost girl.
Yeah.
And also, even when her best friend disappeared, in the novel that Frank, this one of the characters, was writing, she's not even called by her real name. She's like in the books, right? But what comes out also in the novel then, that she in the previous novel, this horrible sect that is now burning down the suburbs, out on their big mansion they have out on the countryside, they have been abusing young girls and boys for underage. Anyhow, so the stepfather of this girl who is now found killed, he was killed by the gangsters in the previous novel. She had a relationship, it comes out, with her best friend's father, who was a 30-year-old grooming kind of guy, and it's also depicted on how he has kind of normalized this for her, so she didn't.
Yeah.
She's kind of starting to see it, because now he's dead and everything, and now her best friend is dead, right? But we were talking originally about, so this her name at first was Leah, but she has changed her name since her best friend disappeared into Lana, after her favorite artist Lana Del Rey. So you can imagine what kind of girl this is, right? And she's kind of like the heart of the novel, but she's also used by this manosphere group. And this is how they actually can make everybody believe it's an immigrant because they take a random young guy, drug him, put him between the legs of this girl, and says it. We have it here online. Everybody's seen this clip, right? So you understand a little bit more. I am. All right. So this girl, who this has happened to, we're gonna just. She's very interesting because it's also in a way, in all this darkness, she's kind of like the dark hope. And later in the novel, she also decides to take vengeance upon these fucking manosphere abusers. So, it's right here. I will cut out this pause with. You think it's interesting?
Yeah. I just need to read the whole thing.
Of course, but I think it's good for an introduction, and also because you were mentioning before, right? This about that. Let's talk about domestic abuse also, because everybody's. This is also what the novel is. It's in that sense a very feministic novel because it's asking itself the question, right? When a society has been this tragic, become this poor in a way, in its spirit, because what happened, Nikolina, was that when this novel came out, the previous one, Hanna Andersson was found dead. You understand what I mean? And this happens all the time. And the belief in Sweden is it's some immigrant perpetrator who did it in the dark. And I have the numbers on it. The truth is that the domesticality of it and the likeliness of that you know the person very well and that it was in your family is 80 in Sweden. In Sweden, the violence is 85% domestic.
Wow.
You understand what I mean? Murders now also we're talking. You understand what I mean? So.
Well, let me
You can talk a little bit.
Well, let me compliment you on that. The rise of domestic violence in Macedonia has grown rapidly. We have seen
Stop the violence against women.
we have seen 5 femicides in the past year. In the last case that got a really huge public attention, 39 police officers didn't act according to their professional duty. So the problem is not that the girl was, I don't know, loud or was wearing a miniskirt or was, I don't know, she had a lover while she was in a divorce procedure or whatnot. The fact is that 39 police officers didn't do anything and they could have done something. They could have acted according to their professional duty. They chose not to do that. And the last statement from a witness from the last molesting she suffered was like, if you report this case again to the police.
No. Can I have another Kisa Voda and also for Nikolina?
No, I'm fine.
You're fine.
Later.
And Bavaria. Yeah.
So the point was that the last police officer, who after 38 attempts of her reporting the same molester, he finally said, if you report him again, we will charge you for false claims. And I mean, the system is like so unfunctional, and young women and mothers are dying. The last case was about a young woman of 36 years old jumping off a building with her 6-year-old daughter because she could have no longer stand the violence she suffered for years.
Bigger relief for her than to be beaten to death, right?
Namely. And the girl was a witness to domestic violence constantly, and it was reported by neighbors, it was reported by eyewitnesses, it was reported by everyone. Nobody lifted a finger to do anything about it. So yeah, let's talk about domestic violence, and let's talk about the rhetoric that Trumps and those alike are spreading throughout the world. Netanyahu here as well. That women are the evil. That all people
Women
who are
supposed to be stay at home, and then what I don't like, I will tell you it comes out also in this novel, that these generally racist people, those who vote for this party, I don't say that they're all like this, but they have, all of them have tendencies where they
Yeah.
are misogynistic. And this novel is about how angry I am as a father of a daughter and a lover of women in general, grew up with a very strong, always been all my best friends, all strong people who all of them, even though they're strong women and have not been abused, they have on a daily basis, when they were younger or at some point in their life, tried to fend off man who doesn't respect that a no is a no, right?
It happens to every girl on the
Every girl
planet.
on the
Doesn't
planet.
matter if it's from the
All
US or
girls
Bangladesh or Sweden
who
or
have-
from Macedonia.
or- and
Every girl on the
every-
planet is suffering the same stuff.
And Nikolina, what I want to say is also the same circle, because this Hannah Andersson, we know from the first novel, that she is in a domestic, her mother is together with this stepfather that also groomed this girl.
Yeah. That's the pattern. Yeah.
And he was the one taking her and making this cult use her, and they have this video evidence of it, these blackmail books. Yeah, anyhow, the thing is that also in Sweden, the problem with domestic violence is the failure to report, because if you do in Sweden, more and more people, let's say compared to the 90s, or let's take that, like 40 years ago, right? Or was it there 40 years ago? 30 years ago. Anyhow, in the 90s, let's say it was a reporting rate that was maybe 50 or even 100% less. So it's not that it's more, it's a steady number. That is the tragedy of all this. That women have been abused constantly through whatever age it is, right? And what we also see, the second war I want to talk about, that we must also figure out what to do with, is, Nikolai, we are recording, as you know, is that the violence towards women is intolerable, but still also with the same guys who are saying all immigrants are cockroaches. What most people forget is they also saying all women are cockroaches. And also everybody who thinks differently is talking cockroaches. And like I say to some people who call themselves...
There's only the male, white, privileged point of view, nothing else. Like, nobody else on the planet matters. They know best, even though they are possibly the least educated people on the planet.
Me who is 100% Swedish, my father checked his DNA. I'm like, literally 100% Swedish. I don't have any. Most people are. I am 10% Spanish. I have nothing.
Yeah, I have Ottoman genes or something.
I am basically, your average, your true Aryan in a way. And I say, when people are standing and saying to me, but it's with the Muslim, with the immigrant, They, and also, with the women, what they can do, What? This woke, they call you woke, or leftard, they call you leftard, me leftard, or, leftard people like you. What? Then I say to them, if people like you are going to decide what's Swedish or not, and I'm 100% Swedish, it's over for us. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
But in the old days, when I grew up in the 90s, the neo-Nazi movement was very strong in Sweden, right? And also, when we came back to Sweden from living here in Macedonia for 4 years, I was standing and taking off these stickers where it said re-immigration now, but the ones who put up these was the neo-Nazis, and now 4 years later with these idiots in government, it's mainstream. And not only them, all parties are saying this now, except one, you know. But what I want to talk about is that this is forgotten. So, these manfluencers, they sell this style to young boys that they should be in care of, take care of their lives, no more pussing around, you know. And, you know, I'm brought up also by a very good mother, you know.
Yeah.
And they're all brought up by good mother, but absent fathers with no positive role models to show that you can be a man and not an idiot. You know, you don't. I want to be a positive role model for the kids I'm teaching, right? That to show them that male positive role models. You know, this is why in Sweden you don't have it in schools because it's seen as a low status, the lowest of statuses. What to take care of the kids? It's for okay. So while you didn't take care of your kids and you were turning your back around, these kids were all of a sudden having no one to relate to. But they had some gang criminals who could relate to them, or actually in the other case of the cult that I'm talking about, some children lovers, but in the wrong way, abusers, right?
Yeah.
So in this society, I think it's very easy, and also with the online abuse, it's very easy to fool young girls. And to the young girls out there, don't let you be fooled and do anything that you don't want, and don't let you make anybody do anything.
Well, that's the painful part, that despite of women's emancipation,
But be careful.
I'm not gonna use the word feminism because it has negative connotations, but I actually like the word feminism because the women are on the front row of like equal rights and possibilities and opportunities. And if the law applies to all, it applies equally to men and women, and it's something we haven't overcome yet. So aside the political and abstract discussions about everything, what my point is that
Be very specific. No, you have a very good point. Please make it.
yeah. So my point is that well, men are hurtful towards men as well. This ideology, the cult towards the big man who dominate, who stamps the hand on the table and makes a decision. The fact that there are so many influencers today on Instagram and on TikTok talking about, shit woman, you're gonna stay at home, cook lunches and be gorgeous for me and stuff like that. I mean, I cannot imagine that after so many struggles and so many like writings and so many discussions and everything, like there are still people on this planet who will like treat a woman like she is a thing. Yeah, despite of the fact that
Now it's coming up a comment here saying you're a woke feminist. No, you understand what I mean?
yeah, exactly. I am a woke. Okay, fine. I am a woke feminist. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. Nice. Okay, good.
I'm awake. Good.
But like, women are no lesser than men. I mean, for God's sakes, after I don't know, tons of examples into history how women can be brilliant, exactly, and they can work together and they can be creative together. You know.
Together forever. This is the reason why we're all here. Man and woman together, right?
I mean, half of the population is female. The other half was born by females. I mean, what the fuck?
But you know, I think, Nikolina, everything has become made an asset, right? So also with the man and woman thing, because through all these dating apps, it's also, you have like a bucket list of unrealistic ideas about the other sex, right? So these incels, this is also in the novel, these incels, they, that means involuntary celibate, right?
Yeah.
These guys are generally considering themselves incels from the age of 15.
Yeah.
I mean, so they're virgins before they're even virgins. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, okay, the sexual debut was lower, but still it's like 18, so take it easy, bro. But how it's about a mindset that is exported. And I want to say now, the modern way of abusing your girlfriend after you break up is revenge porn and stuff like this. And this also the novel takes out, right? That, and also like this girl who is kind of like the shadow girl, Lana, that I'm talking about, right? That she is the victim of this, that this cult has put an immigrant, dragged down immigrant between her legs, right? And directing it like it's some kind of docu-soap. Like, you know, in Sweden, I don't know if people do it here, like OnlyFans, people are fucking online for money and this and that. Very big in Sweden. People have 1 million followers, you understand what I mean?
I mean, after I don't know.
So the pornification also of the society and the idea that women are just some kind of sex dolls. And I think for young boys today with the internet, it should be very clear what they can see and not, because, you know, Google what is strangling porn, and you will get up maybe 1 million pages, you know.
It's not only about...
So both, and this is what I come to in the novel, both young girls and young boys, in terms of identity, since identity is commercialized, get a very false sense what the fuck real life is, or what, you know, you have to do.
But they don't have a sense of what real life is.
Then they have, you can easily become abused, you know, in a world also, and also people filming you, you know. So this, and the shame of this, you know.
The whole production is done by emotionally unintelligent people who are trying to make a lot of money just because they're retarded in a way, in an emotional way retarded, and just because they know that the fastest way to get to money is like to abuse and misuse girls and minorities and whatever group that doesn't fit their paradigm, right? So. We cannot live in a world in the 21st century like that. I mean, the suffragettes appear in the late 19th century. There are women scientists. They're the first woman who has gotten, the first astronaut who has gotten the furthest farther away from Earth is a woman, you know, like, and you still wish to diminish us and not acknowledge what we can achieve. Yes, we can be mothers and we can cook well at the house, in the house.
But you can also do rocket science and write beautiful
without any problem, and we've been like proving that since the dawn of centuries, since forever and ever. And like, I mean, there is going to be some Andrew Tate who has like an IQ of a monkey or something. And like he's going to dictate millions of teenagers and young people, and he is going to say what the value in this world is today.
This is the irony also of this. You can see it on these comments, they're like this hateful, racist comment, right? This is they cannot even spell immigrant. You know. You understand what I mean? This is the type of Swedish guys. I know them. I've been teaching them when I was teaching in this
I mean,
school.
It's not about Sweden only. It's global.
Everywhere.
It's a pandemic.
No, and the thing is, what I also try to depict is that this cult, let's say, what the tracks are leading to is those above. And let's talk about a little bit about that, because behind this manosphere cult that this Lars is running, there is something that I in a novel called all the tracks lead to the real perpetrators.
Like Epstein.
Yes. Yeah. So behind all this, it's a network.
You know what's wrong? It's like Epstein. It's not the only case. I think there are many Epsteins in the world.
It's a pyramid.
Yeah.
It's a pyramid scheme, right? And let me just hug you. Come. So nice to see you. You look good.
Hello, Evan. This was Borimasa Snima.
A friend just that I hadn't seen in quite a while arrived, but we will continue and I will talk to you after. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Super.
Poo-poo.
Top notch. No, but what I wanted to come to was that the tracks lead to those above. And who are those above? This is the power people.
Yeah.
You know, every time you see also in the newspapers, like this and that billionaire was found dead with his family in an accident, or this guy tragic. Those running, or Epstein hanging himself in his cell. Those guys, the tracks lead to. And the third novel, will go into this, how those above use AI now to get into all the public systems of Sweden. This is already happening, ladies and gentlemen, and also here, AI. And in the third novel, this brain-dead billionaire is using a new type of AI called karma. And karma is kind of, doing basically the Elon Musk takeover like he did, and get everybody's identity, social security, and online activity for the last 5 years, right?
Yeah.
That's more worth than gold these days. This is everything, right? And with that, then make the people believe that the enemy is immigration, while the enemy is actually Elon Musk. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
The enemy is the money, right?
And isn't Elon Musk an immigrant himself? I mean,
just as a parenthesis, I think this is a great story, right? There was a guy working with constructing bunkers for the billionaires, and he does like this interview with them, how they want, what they wanted, because it's different bunkers, like what you want to protect yourself from.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was all the guys. He said, all the guys, like Bezos, Zuckerberg, they all have bunkers. Right?
Yeah.
Epstein also.
Yeah.
Anyhow, and then he said, you know what they're most afraid of? It's not a nuclear war. It's not global warming.
Well, that's like a party, a treat. We're gonna blow
no,
up
you
Iran.
Know what,
Yay!
You know what it is? People. The wrath of the people. That people one day will turn against this.
Yeah.
And in the new novel, we also I also try to depict how I believe like this also evil. I think we're as humans, we're bound to do good, right?
Yeah.
But the moral compass is out of, how to say, magnetism.
It's spinning,
spinning like a fucking maniac, right?
Yeah.
And my point also, both here in this novel and the other one, a lot of this is automated. Evil is automated. The evil persons, they don't go to bed at night and thinking like, oh great, I did this. They thinking, I did everybody a favor. Everybody's a fucker, just thinking for themselves anyhow. Why can't I take the money from everybody, and make a little bit here and there for myself? I saw two Swedish guys, all the Swedish referees sitting in the train with me and talking about the Iraq war, and I was eavesdropping, right? And I was thinking like, now these old school guys, they will talk about, oh, it's horrible.
How to solve the problems.
No, it's horrible. Then the other guy said, have you seen the last with the Iraq war? And the other guy takes up his smartphone, 80-year-old guy, right, who's an old referee, shaking his iPhone. He's like, oh, it's good. It's good, he said. What? The other guy said, yeah, the price of oil. I have some stocks in oil, so it's gone up. This while a fucking missile is raining down on civilians in Iran.
Yeah.
I was thinking, now let's see some of the old school humanity. Everybody has become like this. Everything,
and
the fucking assets. Great. They bombing this country, my stocks go up. I don't give a fuck.
Exactly, the level of arrogance and impunity, and the fact that I can I can pass with everything, I can do money out of war. Those are called war profiteers. That's like...
and the only way this can go on...
That's sanctioned under international law, Like, you cannot make profits under war.
What happened with Gaza was also that the media... why the Israelis made a ceasefire was... because of the media had turned. They couldn't foresee this. Previously, they have had it on their side. But listen here. Yes, but what they recognized was that they couldn't go against now celebrities, everybody speaking up against this. So they say, we take a ceasefire and then start now with Lebanon and continue the silent genocide in Gaza and so on, right? So what I'm saying,
they're actually polluting Lebanon's and Syria fields like their source of food with chemical weapons, so the people there cannot feed themselves.
And the problem is that what they made us also during the pandemic through the digitalization of our lives was that we're all bystanders, passive bystanders to atrocities. We all see it on a daily basis, the kind of humiliation game online, the virals, murders to get and nuclear attacks together with cat clips and girls in bikini. And I took in these influencers who are trying to convince you like my life was miserable, but now since I take this Botox, whatever, right? So everything has kind of become entertainment, and therefore we're detached from it, right? And in the novel, what can we do? In a way, also, what can you do, right? But we're also complicit. You understand what I mean?
Of course I do. I know the unpopular term these days.
Maybe it was better in the old days when you couldn't watch it, like in the old wars, people were hearing about it instead and saying, or the next day and saying, plotting, we must do something about it. Now you're kind of caught in the shock all the time, right?
My boyfriend tells me, what are you going to do with Johan? I'm telling him we're going to do a podcast. What are you going to talk about? And I'm telling him about his novels and about our point of view about what is going up in the day. And he tells me, you're the people who are going to save the world. Greta Thunberg, you and Johan. And I say, this is our try at fixing things.
And let's talk a little bit, now I will steer it into this also with the young girl. Let's talk a little bit about Greta, just 2 seconds. We mentioned this in the previous podcast, but during the Gaza thing, right, and as I was writing this book, Greta, so brave, going on the flotilla to Gaza, and what does she get? She gets she know this, we know this. She gets this Ben Gvir personally having her to walk on all her fours, humiliating her, like licking, kissing the Israeli flag, and kind of, humiliating her, beating her. They have taken away, for example, in Israeli prisons that also abuse, putting fingers up. I didn't say that happens to Greta, but
they're putting everything up, and they're using dogs to bite
the other guys, the other guys, some of the guys who were there with Greta, a Swedish guy, he was anally raped by a female so-called prison guard with a broom or something like this. So this all ongoing humiliation, right? And then in Swedish media, the foreign consulate never happened before. They don't even help her. All the other countries send some water in. She didn't get anything because the Swedish government hate her. And she said, the foreign minister says, we told it was dangerous. We told you not, we have done our share.
We warned you. It's the same like domestic violence.
And also,
don't wear miniskirts, don't provoke men.
And Maria Malmer, a woman, Maria Malmer Stengård, who is this right-wing foreign minister, she also says about Gaza, never one time she acknowledged the genocide. Never. Because what? Sweden is having a $1 billion deal with Israel for AI weaponry. Among other things, Sweden is the third biggest weapon exporter in the world. The wheels must keep on turning, just like during the Holocaust. Trains were going through Sweden. We come with this kind of business as usual, No. But in the old days, the previous, he's also right wing, but now he almost seems like a lefty. He got Carl Bildt because he was foreign minister, and he says this is against international law because this is how he was also working with meddling peace in the Yugoslav war, right?
Yeah.
And he says it's against international law. And they say this to this woman, and they avoid any questions. So there is no right and wrong anymore in terms of international law. It's overridden. Also, what's going on in Iran? They start off with bombing a school for girls, 250, and saying, like a little 5-year-old saying, "It wasn't me. It wasn't me."
How primitive is
Yeah.
that? Like bombing a
For
girls'
peace,
school.
for peace
A
and
girls'
democracy.
school, yeah.
Yeah,
Not only that,
here
peace and
comes
democracy.
democracy. It weighs about 2 tons, and it has nuclear,
Capacities.
yeah.
But I mean, you not only bomb a school, you bomb a girls' school because the women are the
Again.
real threat. The women who are like 7 to 12 years old, the girls who are 7 to 12 years old, they're the actual threat to the world peace and democracy. I mean, come on.
Why was it that more than 10,000 kids killed during the Gaza War was killed with a bullet in the head? This is after the autopsies. The most common death of kids in Gaza was not starvation and it was a bullet in the head.
Because you're trying to demoralize society in every
And you
possible
see the
way.
guys-
And if you kill the offspring and if you kill the mothers, then there will be no females and children to carry on the message. I mean, it's like
very,
so
very
simple.
important message also with this, that this guy, who is the leader of the neo-Nazi party in Sweden with 20% of the votes, he was invited to speak at the Zionist conference. And now I will tell you the funny story. The night before, he jumped into a mirror and get a bump on his head. And they asked, "How did this happen?" "I had a nightmare about a Muslim man chasing me." The night before you're going to talk on a Zionist conference?
We're bringing back biblical stories, like stories that are, I
Kidding
don't
me?
know,
You kidding
3 or
me?
4,000 years old that are folklore. And like Israel is claiming a right to greater Israel, and then America is talking about God because nowadays the only supporters of Trump are like far-wing Christians or whatever confession they are. I mean, not confession, but like are there Methodists or whatnot, Protestant fractions? I mean, come on, we are bringing back like ancient scripture to the rhetorics of today's politics. Are we really doing that?
And if you
Like,
see,
wasn't there like the Age of Enlightenment?
But
I
you
don't
know-
know, Einstein and the Second World War and
you see all these Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, and all of them, they're right-wing extremists. And this is my point, that
and
the
they
right...
have a pin with a hanger.
I'm amazed that we would come to this point that neo-Nazis from Sweden, coming from, or let's say a fascist party with neo-Nazi roots, to be specific, that the leader of the Swedish neo-fascist party is having a speech at a conference with the right wing of Israel. No, could anybody guess that the Nazis and the Zionists would go together? Yes, they do, because it's the same power structure, and they put the blame on somebody else. And you see all these nationalists, what they go with, kind of the emblem, it's the big Judea, and that region involves Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen,
not Yemen, sorry. Syria and then half of
and
the Arabic
Egypt,
Peninsula
and Egypt,
part
and
of
Egypt.
Exactly.
Fuck, Sudan, and Sudan.
In Sudan, part of
Fuck
Sudan as
me,
well.
right.
Fuck me.
So
Exactly.
crazy. And this is going on. And I heard of, this Dr. Jason Hickel, this professor in economics, very interesting. He talks about this in the 70s in all the Arab countries and in Africa. There was a socialist movement going on. And many republics or countries pronouncing themselves as the People's Republic, they were generally leftist, so they picked up on the socialist ideas, not the communistic ideas. The socialist state, kind of Yugoslavia, or or even in some African countries, even social democracy. Not left, but social democracy.
Center left.
But the theory, and this is also the truth, they couldn't allow this, America, because it's going to be very bad for business if the people is all of a sudden owning this. So they basically, again, after drawing up, the Belgians are drawing up Africa with a line here between the European countries. The Americans buys it, and now later the Chinese. And this is how you put down the resistance, right? That because the resistance is just that We the people, we just want to live a good time.
Yeah.
We don't want judges of taste who is going to tell me what's Swedish or not. For me, being Swedish is to be open to other people. And we have a so much better country because that we have 200 different nationalities in Sweden. We have, and to be honest, it's just 2 million people more. It's a fifth of the people coming, and then you have, of course, the second generation, so it's maybe 1 million more.
Yeah.
But they are Swedish.
Yeah.
According to me, they're Swedish.
Yeah.
I know
Wasn't it the premise
all of
of
them.
Europe in the first place?
That's my friends. That's me. So it's.
Ultimately, why does it bother you? Where does the person comes from? Why?
Yeah.
Why? He lives in your country. He doesn't make any crime. They don't do any crime.
Exactly, and when people hear also, because people here apparently get propaganda here about Sweden, right? So they say to me, "Oh, Muslim country," and I say, "Okay, in what way?" We don't have like here in Skopje, they have mosques chanting. No of this in Sweden, and then.
France is much more of a Muslim country than Sweden is.
And then they say to me, what about the uproars? What do you mean 2 years ago when people reacted to a guy burning the Quran in the suburbs, wrapped up in bacon? That they throw some homemade fire, some Molotovs, because you were actively searching for it? You understand what I mean? Okay. Let me read this passage from Lana, the heart of the novel. She had changed her name from Leah to Lana already before Hannah disappeared. It took some time to get it through. People were still calling her Leah every now and then. She didn't care. In the Bible, Leah is a character who must fight to be seen. Her name means cow, but in old days that was not necessarily something bad. It means tender, calm, gentle. As so many other women in the classic stories, Leah is mentioned as a side character in the peripheral. She gives birth for Jacob many sons, but in spite of this, she cannot reach him, get his attention, or even his love. Then, because Jacob also has a relationship with her sister Rachel, she must fight for his attention. A milking cow is maybe not such a wrong comparison for somebody who, in the eyes of their beloved one, barely exists. And at some time, when Jacob is going to meet an important man, he places Leah and the kids behind his servants, but in front of Rachel. This is her own little victory that is mentioned between the lines before her death is mentioned, and she fades out into the peripheral like most of the women characters in the Holy Book.
Yeah. Typical.
Our Lana actually knew the story, but not so much. She had only asked ChatGPT about her old name, and she get up this background. But she could identify by being the one who was barely noticed. Sometimes it felt like she didn't exist. When Lana saw Frank and Alva going through the school corridor on Altorp, she knew exactly what was going on. They would ask about Hannah. She didn't know yet that she was dead. This morning, her phone for some reason didn't charge, and she had woken that she saw Hannah by her bed. She smiled to her. Are we going to go now? Or then she wake up again. On the way to school, she was thinking about that dream, what it could have meant. Actually, she had not been able to sleep since that message. And this girl, Hannah, has sent her a message previous day that they should meet up under the bridge in Herrljunga, and then she's found dead, And since yesterday, when they have found that cut-up body, or the remains of a dead body down by the river, she could not stop thinking if it was Hannah and why she never showed up when Lana was standing there waiting for her. In Frank's book, what you see, he had changed her name. There she was, Stina, like she didn't exist. She hadn't even bothered to check up what her name was now these days. She had always played the second violin all her life, for her mother, for Hannah, for Peter. She tried to read Frank's facial expression. He looked tired, plagued, and sick. The cop, Alva Holmqvist, looked even worse. It was like a cloud of some distant, sour party that was coming to her there in the corridor. This couldn't be good. Do you know what happened? No. Hannah has been found dead. It felt like the floor was moving under her, like during an earthquake. She was pulled down into a hole only to find herself sitting there. She felt sick.
Yeah. Well, what's the question?
No, but then this girl, Lana, she is used by this sect, right? And she has previously been groomed by this stepfather. But she also agrees in the novel to take revenge and go out to the farm and shoot this guy who did it. And in the novel, she lives along with her mother, right? And her mother has also gone through hard times, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's also something, just to talk about this, because I think people do so much. Also the gangsters in Sweden now, they post everything on Facebook. Also the girls. Yeah, so while Nikolina is having a short break here, I will also tell you a little bit about the novel's birth and journey here. So for you still listening, my name is Johan Melin, and I'm the author of Soon It Will Brighten, that I discuss in this podcast together with my dear friend Nikolina Stojanova. And you can say like this, that the only way for me to write about what's going on in the Swedish society today, when I returned after 4 years ago, after being abroad for 25 years, was in a way, for me, I always been writing, so for me it's telling stories, right? And it always starts with a what if, in a way, and I usually use the place I am at for the moment, because also this small town I know in and out, so to speak, but still seeing it with fresh eyes. But what I think has happened both in Sweden and all over the world is the dissolvement of any privilege. We had a beautiful. I love the internet, and the thing with information wants to be free. But what it's not now with the algorithm, information is everything but free. You understand?
We love internet now because we were supposed to.
No, I loved internet.
Research that would take a lot of time.
Saving us.
These days we don't need to do that.
No.
It's fine. I mean, I do love technology in that way, but not technology with algorithms and pre-designed and pre-perceived and pre-decided.
In Sweden now, the police,
what the youth and the young are supposed to see or read.
Already now, in how they sell the Swedish technology that was the facial recognition. You know how they sell it? Tested in Gaza, tested on the field.
Oh my God!
They don't say it like this, but it said proofly. They don't say where, but it was tested in Gaza. all this AI technology
that's the
of
worst self-spy there is.
yes, no, but it's also the new novel is that the Swedish police is already using AI, and the municipalities are using AI, and what would happen if a crazy billionaire,
Yeah.
which it is in the third one,
Yeah.
takes over. Even in the third book, he's run by AI. The AI tells him what to say. He's prompted, and this is an interesting point of the third novel, that the AI is actually telling him what to say. And then it's one point in the third novel where he falls off script and he doesn't know what to say.
That's a reality where we need to be prepared of, because it's like very likely for that
Already
to
now,
happen.
you see, already on, we've known it for many years, but everything is prompted, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Curated. We talk about the lack of curation of culture, but the fucking algorithms, they're there to make you hook, make you numb, make you obey, and keep on working and not think too much. They try to burn the books. They try to erase the thoughts that we all are one, and that woman and man is separated, black and white is separated, and they're all wrong, and we all know it. Everybody knows
Let's
it.
be rebellious
Everybody
and get
knows
off
it.
the internet.
Yes.
I mean, I don't
Let's
see
save
any
the
other
world.
solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because if we show these fuckers, if we, let's say, everybody go off who are tired of this shit, we boycott the internet for 1 week. This, for these big tech bros, they would lose billions. It would be worse than Iran. Iran is good for them. Gaza is good for them. All this human content, human disposal, right? If we just did the most simple act, step off Zuckerberg's Meta and TikTok, Ellison, ByteDance, TikTok, and these social media. We could also, even if we just used internet for, in the old ways, research, and then phoning each other instead of that for 1 week, we could make them start bleeding money. In 1 month, they would go down. You understand?
Yeah.
Because they had the ultimate business idea to turn our content and our secrets. It's no longer Big Brother see me. It's Big Brother sees you. It's Big Brother see me. So we're reporting ourselves, where we are, what we eat, who we hang out with, what we are doing. And this is why everybody becomes so fucking stiff, because everybody fucking filming their reality, and there's billions of realities, and everybody's detached from the real reality, which is that we should fucking connect in this very, very moment.
Well, let's stay outside of internet for a week. Huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
And spend time in Skopje doing nice stuff.
All right, deal.
Deal.
And thank you so much for this conversation, Nikolina. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure as
Like
well.
always, and we hope that you are listening. And yes, if you have any suggestions about other topics we should discuss for the future, please put it in the comments. And remember to like and subscribe. And subscription is an important thing, because here on this format this is my only way of showing you that you enjoyed it and you're the audience. You don't need to like it, but you listen. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.